Hello, my name's Steve Horgan. I'm the Director of Umpiring for USA Field Hockey. We're here today in Lawrenceville, New Jersey at Center Court for our 2018 National Rules Briefing. Let's go inside. So let's get started. First, it's important to know that for 2018, there are no significant rule changes from the FIH or the NCAA level. For the high school levels, there is one big significant change that we'll cover later in the program, which is the free hit inside the 25-yard line. Today's program is going to have a number of reviews and points of emphasis. We're looking to try to continue to cover the aerial ball, aerial dribbling, free hits inside the 25-yard line, and then at the end, we will go over some umpire positioning so that umpires can be in a position to make the best calls possible. So let's start with the aerial balls. We're asking that you remember, first and foremost, that deflections are not considered aerial balls. They are judged under a separate rule based on danger or leading to dangerous play. The aerial ball rule is strictly for the intentionally thrown overheads in our game. As the rule states, players must not approach within 5 meters of an opponent receiving a falling raised ball until it has been received, controlled, and on the ground. That means the player must be given the opportunity to do all three of those skills. The initial receiver has the right to the ball. If it is not clear which player is the initial receiver, the player of the team which raised the ball must allow the opponent to receive it. Therefore, if two players are in close proximity as the ball is falling, the team who did not put it up when it is unclear must not make any actions towards the play that could interfere with the other player receiving, controlling, and getting the ball on the ground. What we're going to do is run these videos in real time and then slow them down so that we can break down the play as it develops. So let's take a look at our first video. Here is a prime example of two players being in close proximity as the ball is falling. And you'll notice that the orange player backs off and fully allows the green player to receive, control, and get the ball on the ground before she attempts to tackle. Here's where the ball goes up and clearly coming down to the green player, and as you can see, the orange player takes some steps back and the game flows quite nicely. Okay, as we break this down, you can see the trajectory of the ball, and an orange player attempts to play the ball over her head, but obviously misses, so this play is quite clean, and the ball comes down to the green player, and her mark, or defending player, has the opportunity to play the ball right here, but has the composure to back away because the ball was not received, controlled, and on the ground, and then the game continues to flow quite nicely. Our next video is a classic example of a decision of the umpire that it was not clear who the initial and obvious receiver was going to be. Let's take a look at it. As we see the ball going up, and then as it comes down, the player in the black and player in the white are right on top of each other, so it's obvious that it was not clear. All right, let's begin to analyze this play. The ball goes up quite nicely, and we can see the trajectory. And as it's falling, I'll bring it into the screen, it's quite obvious that this ball is around head height between two players. Therefore, not clear in any way who the receiver was going to be. Thus, the free hit is given to the team in black. So let's look at the next video. Our next topic is an aerial ball being thrown into open space. If a raised ball falls into open space and bounces, the provisions of Rule 9.10, which we just went over, still apply until it has been received, controlled, and on the ground. What that is telling us is just because the ball hits the ground as a falling aerial ball does not mean that the parameters are off for the team's responsibilities, whether it be the team throwing the ball or the players receiving the ball. Let's take a look at some video. In our first video, the ball is thrown cleanly overhead, bounces into a wide open space, and as you can see, the white player runs onto it, receives it, and has plenty of time to put it on the ground before the red team tackles. Our next video is very similar to the one we just saw, but in this video, the player in black is the clear receiver, and the player in red comes in way too soon before the ball is received, controlled, and on the ground after the bounce. Let's take a look. It goes up nice and clean, and as you can see, number 8 in black had the ball, and the red player came in from behind her, and the umpire stopped it while the ball was bouncing before it was on the ground. Let's take a closer look. From an umpire standpoint, as the ball bounces, things are clear. The player in black receives it, and then once the red player attempts to step in, it gets blown, and the free hit is given to the team in black. So we went over 2 scenarios of the bouncing ball. One where there was a clear receiver and she was allowed to receive, control, and play the ball on the ground, and the game flowed quite nicely. The second was there was a clear receiver, but the opponent did not allow her to receive, control, and get it on the ground. Our third scenario will be when the ball bounces and 2 players are running to it practically 50-50, and there is no clear receiver. Let's take a look. So let's analyze this one. The ball goes up without a problem and bounces right at the midfield line. And right here you see 2 players running 50-50 for the ball. It is very difficult and unsure who the clear receiver is. This play needs to be judged just like any other aerial ball, as if the ball were falling between these 2 players. This is a 50-50 ball, and neither player is clear to be the receiver for it to allow to play on. This should be blown after the bounce once it's recognized that there is not a clear receiver. In this scenario, the white team should be given possession of the ball. So we've been over 2 scenarios. The first one was an aerial falling to receivers. The second was an aerial bouncing to receivers. And now let's look at another scenario where the aerial ball is falling directly to a lone receiver. Here's a classic example of a player breaching the 5-meter rule. As you can see, the umpire blew the whistle and gave the free hit to the team in black. So let's take another quick look. Obviously the ball goes up nice and clean, and in turn you can see the orange player out just beyond the dotted circle, comes running in as the obvious and clear receiver is attempting to receive the ball, and the umpire gives the free hit to the team in black, and the orange player has to wait until the ball moves at least 5 meters in order for her to attack. As an example, if the orange player happened to be 4 meters away, and as the ball was falling, she stepped into 2 meters away, the umpire should blow the whistle while the ball is still in the air and give the free hit to the team in black. In closing our topic of falling aerial balls, the rules allow for a decision to be made while the ball is still in the air before it comes down near the players. Let's go on to aerial dribbling. "3D skills have become an important and exciting part of hockey, but we need to be a little bit more conservative when it comes to aerial dribbling. Aerial dribbling in itself is not illegal, but dribbling into or through another player or group of players can be dangerous and also lead to more dangerous play. If we use the parameters of a ball popping up in between two players and the close proximity that gets called dangerous in most cases, if we use that same guidance for an aerial dribble, you'll have the best chance of getting that decision right. Let's take a look at some video. Take a look at the player in white as she lifts the ball on the play. She turns and gets it up in the air and goes right into a defender and then attempts to get around. You can see the ball bouncing all over the place with sticks trying to play. So let's take a little bit closer look. As we run this to break it down, at this point the player gets the ball up in the air, and at this point we do not have any danger, as aerial dribbling in itself is not dangerous. But as it gets closer to the defender and you have two sticks attempting to play the ball in this manner, it now becomes dangerous and can absolutely lead to more dangerous play. This is the close proximity we're talking about, and if you can imagine the ball just popping up off of one of the sticks with two players in this close proximity trying to play the ball while it's in the air, this would be blown as dangerous and should be blown as dangerous here. So as we look at it one more time, we can see the player lifts it legally, takes it directly into or attempting to go through the defender. This more conservative approach on aerial dribbling has come about after many consultations with the FIH. So now I'd like to touch base on a couple reminders about free hits inside the 25-yard line. Let's take a quick look at this video. As this play goes and the umpire calls a foul just outside the hash marks, the red player picks up and just continues with the ball. Let's take a little bit closer look. As the red player comes in with the ball, the white player is called for a stick interference and the umpire awards the free hit. As you can see, just about at the top of the broken line circle. The ball makes its way well outside the 25-yard line and picked up by the red player, who continually possesses the ball and runs towards and directly near the circle. Nowhere did the red player make an attempt to stop the ball or indicate that the free hit was actually taken. This is a common occurrence, especially inside the 25-yard line, where players are in such a hurry that they want to gain the advantage by continuing the run. This play here should have been turned around and sent against the red team for not stopping the ball. So let's take a quick look at a scenario where the ball has to move 5 before being played into the circle. The foul's going to be called right here, and the red player takes the ball, moves to her right, and is immediately engaged by the defense. So let's take a little bit closer look. So as we can see, the foul is inside the broken line circle, within 5 of the hard line circle. The player takes the ball, moves to the right, and as you can see, 3 defenders are within 5 at the time of the free hit. Therefore, they all have the responsibility to only shadow and not influence the play until the ball has moved at least 5. And here you can see the blue player step up and try to tackle the ball before the ball has moved 5. The starting point of this free hit gives us a great segue into the new rule with the NFHS for free hits inside the 25-yard line. This picture gives you a great look at the typical setup of a free hit after it was awarded inside the broken line circle but outside the hard line circle. You can see number 28 getting ready to take the free hit, and all of the defenders and all of the attackers are at least 5 yards away. The defenders are not allowed to come up to the edge of the circle prior to the free hit. So take note that It is not a requirement to move the ball back to the dotted line circle, and it's actually a violation to move it back to the dotted line circle when a free hit is warded within 5 yards of the circle. Therefore, all free hits inside the 25-yard line at the NFHS level should be managed exactly the same, even if it's inside the broken line circle. To close out our discussion on the rules, we want you to make judgments on the falling aerial balls earlier. We want you to be more conservative on aerial dribbling decisions, and remember your parameters for free hits inside the 25-yard line. At the NFHS level, we need to remember that the ball is no longer brought back to the broken line circle. Now, let's take a look at our discussion on positioning from last year. Our final segment will be on some new umpire positioning guidance. This new guidance has come about based on some data analysis of video reviews. Let's look at the board. Currently, we find quite a number of umpires well out here when the ball is in the circle. The new guidance based on the data analysis is saying that down here, which most of us call a hot spot, we need to be down here much sooner than ever before, even when the ball is way out here and just crossing the 23-meter line. It's important to be here and keep yourself moving, but we're going to call this home base. Again, in this position much earlier than ever before. Our old school pathway to umpiring had us about 5 yards off the sideline, coming down, and eventually working our way in. The new school of umpiring, and in order to get into this spot much quicker and earlier than ever before, you will have to take a path more direct. Look at this. It's less running, you get into the spot quicker, and you're in there to make, with the ability to make decisions cool, calm, and collected. Provided that this space is open, you want to get in there fast. Let the play come to you. Keep it on your left. If there isn't space for you to take this path, it's because you did not anticipate soon enough to stay far ahead of the play. In order to be in this position at the proper time, even when the ball comes across the defensive 23-meter line, the umpire should already be on their side of the 50. When the ball comes, and let's say it comes out here, across that 50, that umpire should already be across their 25 with the intent of cutting the angle as close as possible to get to that spot as quickly as possible. So when the ball comes across the 23-meter line here, this umpire is already in position, waiting for the play to come towards them. So now let's talk about the ball going away from you as the umpire. If you're down in your hot spot and the ball comes out this way and starts to work its way up the sideline, there is no hurry or no rush to get out of this spot. At any time, this can turn around and come right back in towards you, and you need to be in this spot. If the real estate is available, maybe you take a couple steps up here as it's going away, but think about it. When the ball's crossing the 25-yard line on this side of the field, your partner has that responsibility. You can now focus on things that are off the ball and watching to see and possibly anticipate the ball coming back in. So now let's look at the defense building an attack from the middle of the field. If they happen to take a free hit here, let's just say it's a self-start, and they go to carry up here, and they're not being pressed, There is absolutely nothing wrong with the umpire following this up if the real estate is available for them, and then eventually working their way out here as the attack builds up. The whole time being cognizant of the possibility of the play turning around and coming right back. So, delay your departure from your home base just by a little bit until you can read the play and know that it's safe to come out and work your way up the field. And finally, let's talk about a buildup of an attack on the umpire side of the field. Again, we don't want to rush to be coming out of our home base. So if the hit is taken here, and let's say outletted, and they look to take the ball up the field, yes, the umpire can actually step up. If the players allow them, go this way, but kind of work your angle this way, keeping the play in front of you. What you're going to be doing that's going to be new to a number of people is you're going to be creating a sight line from this direction to see things going on in this area, then rushing yourself out here and up or out and trying to create a sight line from that direction. Therefore, if you delay coming out of here just as we talked about with the ball going here, if there is any turnaround or hard hit, you are already in your circle, close to your home base, in order to make the crucial decisions, as the circle is the most important area of your job. This information based on the data analysis works. It's been proven, and we want to see all of our umpires try this, use it, and get used to it. Thank you for watching the 2018 National Rules Briefing. If you have any questions, please feel free to send an email to umpire@usafieldhockey.com. On behalf of USA Field Hockey, we'd like to thank Center Court in Lawrence Township, New Jersey for the use of their facility.